Now what about cosecant and secant? Well, cosecant is defined to be 1 over the sine of theta. So it's the reciprocal, and a reciprocal flips things. So let's look at the sine wave. Remember, it looked like this. So we want to take the reciprocal of these values. So that value is 0. What's the reciprocal of 0? Well, it would have 0 on the bottom, means it's undefined. So every place this hits 0, we're going to have an asymptote for cosecant. All right, let's start with that value, 1. What's the reciprocal of 1? It's 1. The reciprocal of -1 is -1. So if you can imagine taking these tiny values, let's say that's about a half. The reciprocal of half is 2. So instead of being cupped downward, all right, for this graph going down, it's going to go up and then approach those asymptotes without crossing them. Same thing here. Instead of this value, we're going to have the reciprocal of those values. So we still have a period of 2 pi, and we can just use the sine wave to graph the cosecant. Okay, the secant of theta is the reciprocal of cosine of theta. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to graph my cosine graph. Put my asymptotes everywhere the value of 0, because the reciprocal of 0 would be undefined. Then the reciprocal of 1 is 1, and instead of these going down, when you flip them, they're going to get bigger. Instead of this cupped upwards, it's going to go down between the asymptotes. Here, instead of this being like a half, it's going to be up at 2. Instead of going down, it's going to go up. So that is your cosecant graph. Again, same as 2 pi. Now I realize that a lot of teachers don't like, I'm sorry, I said cosecant, but this is your secant graph. A lot of teachers don't like it this way. I think it's the easiest way to graph it because we can just use cosine. So really, it's not learning anything new. However, we don't really have an amplitude because it's going to go from infinity to -infinity. And also notice that it's undefined for these values inside here. Cosecant is undefined between -1 and +1, and so is the secant. All right, so let's just practice this one, the cosecant. I'm going to pretend that that cosecant says sine. So I'm going to just graph it just like I would the sine. The amplitude, the vertical shift, and I'm going to add pi over 4 to both sides, and I'm going to divide by 2. Again, I'm going to start with my beginning, have my end, figure out the middles. So that's going to be 5/8, this is 3/8, and that's 7/8. I'm going to put my vertical mark, and I'm going to say, okay, vertical shift it down 1, so this is going to represent -1. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3 from there, and I'm going to go down 3. And then, again, I'm going to graph my sine wave. So my sine wave starts at 0 or on the horizontal axis, and it goes up, down, down, up. So that's my sine wave. Every place it crosses the horizontal axis, put an asymptote. And then I'm going to do my flipping. So from here, instead of going down, it's going to go up between the asymptotes, down. Now, if you wanted to, it's real easy on a computer. I could go back and erase my sine wave so you can just see your cosecant wave. So graph it just like sine, then just put in your asymptotes and flip the things. So secant So secant, I'm going to pretend that that says cosine. So my amplitude is that negative 1/3, which means I'm going to flip it. I have no vertical shift, and I'm going to take the angle and put it between 0 and 2 pi. That's how I do it. So subtracting pi over 3, then I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the half. You should get better at your fractions, or at least, at the very least, make sure you know how to do your fractions on your calculators. So here's my beginning and my end. Again, doing all the math to figure out the tick marks. I just add those and divide by 2, so that'd be 8/3 divided by 2 is 4/3. Same thing here, and that's going to be 1/3 pi, and that's going to be 7/3 pi. And sometimes you can just see a pattern. Oh, I'm adding by 1, really. So if I add 3/3, 3/3, 3/3, 3/3. Okay, so I have no vertical shift, so I know this is at 0. Now amplitude, 1/3. Now 1/3 is pretty small, but I want to make it a little bit bigger so I can see it. Now remember, we're graphing cosine. So here, cosine usually starts up, but since it's negative, I'm going to start it down, go to the horizontal axis, up, down, down. So my cosine wave looks something like that. Then everywhere it crosses the horizontal axis, we put an asymptote. Then here, we're going to go up. And here, instead of going up to 0, we're going to go down to infinity, down to infinity. Remember, if you wanted to continue that graph, it would look something like that. So again, graphing cosecant and secant is exactly the same as graphing sine and cosine. Nothing special about that. Just make sure you get those asymptotes in the right place and you flip or take the reciprocal of those graphs. Using a computer, if you wanted to see what these graphs look like, not with my sketching of my hand, this was example 3 with their tangent graph. This was number 4. And I will tell you, this was not just a matter of inputting this into the computer. I had to go through and tell it what tick marks, so I still had to do the math to do that. I had to know what I wanted on my x and y axes. It wasn't as easy as it may look. And here's your cosecant and secant graphs.